And the reason I went to Argentina actually dates back a few years earlier when my sister and I were on this TV show called The Amazing Race. How many people have seen that show before? Okay, a lot of people. How many people saw it when I was on it? Few. Okay. So I was on a long time ago. We were talking about it at dinner. It was 2002. I mean, almost a decade ago I was on this show. But if you haven't seen The Amazing Race, the concept is that you have two people, and they're racing around the world and against 12 other teams, and the winners get $1 million. And my sister and I raced on The Amazing Race, and after 31 days of racing around the world, we lost the $1 million by 4 minutes. 4 minutes, 31 days, $1 million. And the worst part about this whole thing was it was my fault. And the worst part about that, for all the guys in the room, is I totally epitomized the cliche, the guys won't stop and ask for directions. There was this moment when my sister said, Blake, we're about to win $1 million. We're 30 minutes ahead of the other team. Let's just stop and get a map to make sure we know where we're going. And I said, oh, Paige, don't worry, I know exactly where I'm going. Famous last word, right? It's actually funny. About a month after The Amazing Race was over, I got this text message from my sister, and it was this number. And I thought, that's kind of weird. And maybe the phone went off in her pocket. You know, sometimes it does that. And then about a month later, I get another message from her, and it's another number. And I'm like, what is going on? So I just picked up the phone, and I called her. I'm like, Paige, why are you sending me these text messages with these random numbers? And she said, Blake, that's the interest you owe me on my $500,000. And I just totally threw myself into the culture. So I started taking like tango lessons, because that's part of the Argentine culture. I took some polo lessons. I love horses. I grew up in Texas, so that was really fun for me. Drank a lot of the great Malbec red wine. I mean, really, really enjoyed myself. And I was doing that for a couple weeks when one day I was in this coffee shop, and I heard a couple people in the corner speaking in English. And almost everyone that I'd been with for the past few weeks only spoke Spanish, so to hear someone speaking English was really great for me. And I went up to them and chatted them up and told them what I was doing. And when I asked them what they were doing, they said, we're doing volunteer work. And I said, oh, that's cool. And I said, well, what exactly volunteer work are you doing? And they said, well, we've been doing lots of things, but this week we're doing a shoe drive. And I said, what's a shoe drive? And they said, well, basically, just outside of Buenos Aires, about 2 hours, there's a village, Los Pilotones. And there's lots of children there that don't have shoes. And not only do they not have shoes, but they actually aren't allowed to go to school because shoes is part of the uniform. So these kids are being denied an education because they don't have shoes. Now, I grew up in a middle-class family in Texas and never had to worry about shoes or clothes or any of the bare necessities, textbooks. So this was really surprising to me. And I've always been a very curious person. And I'd played enough polo and definitely taken enough tango lessons. So I said, look, I want to come with you guys. Can I come and help volunteer? And they said, sure. And so next thing you know, I'm going on down this dirty road, down all these potholes, in the middle of nowhere to this village. And we get there, and what I see is amazing. I see these children that are so excited, running to the car because they were told that they were getting a new pair of shoes that day. And as we got out and we got the boxes, I watched these volunteers, and it was so amazing to me because they were so passionate about these children and just loving on them and putting shoes on their feet, and the parents were so excited, and seeing some of the dialogue going back and forth. It was really amazing to me. And then I got on my hands and knees and started doing it too, and that was awesome. And I remember that day leaving, and that was my first experience to do anything like this, just totally filled. Like my spirit, my heart, everything was just so filled up, and I was excited. And I was leaving, and I drove home where I was staying on this farm, and I went to bed that night, and I remember laying there in bed and thinking, that was awesome, but what's going to happen when those kids run out of those shoes? What's going to happen when their feet grow, or the shoes get, the shoes are, get worn out? And I remember kind of having trouble going to sleep, so I was really thinking a lot about this idea of these volunteers did it this day, but next month or 6 months, who's going to do it the next time? And I kind of went to bed a little bit concerned about the whole project, even though I had had such a wonderful day. So I woke up the next day, and I was on the farm with my friend Alejo, and I was just talking to him about my day and about the need for these shoes, and we started kicking around some ideas. And before I knew it, I came up with another idea. I said, you know, what if instead of looking at this problem as something that charity is solving by donations and people giving their shoes or giving money to buy shoes, you know, what if we looked at this more from a business perspective? You know, what if instead of starting a charity, I actually to help these kids, because I want to continue to help them, what if I started a shoe company? And, you know, what if every time I sold a pair of shoes, I took a pair away, one for one?